America is under threat from a radical organization that's terrorizing its citizens. But it's not a right-wing fascist group like the mainstream media claims. It's actually a left-wing fascist organization known as Black Lives Matter. The idea that Black Lives Matter is not a controversial one, but that's not what this group is about. From the start, Black Lives Matter was designed to destroy traditional American values, and its leaders and founders have admitted to being radical Marxists and socialists. As so many have pointed out over the last few weeks, this movement was never about racial justice, but about pushing progressive ideology supported by extremist billionaires like George Soros. And this isn't a group that wants to find a peaceful middle ground. Black Lives Matter are as extremist as they come. But that kind of hate and violence makes sense because the people funding and promoting Black Lives Matter are some of the most radical extremists alive today. That includes the organization 1,000 Currents, which donates heavily to Black Lives Matter and whose board of directors is run by people like Susan Rosenberg, a woman who started out as a member of violent communist revolutionary groups in the 1960s. She was part of the May 19th communist organization and carried out bombings at an FBI field office and even the U.S. Capitol building in support of the Black Liberation Army. Susan also tried to disrupt President Reagan's re-election campaign by organizing a violent uprising to end racial oppression in America. Sound familiar? Susan lived as a fugitive for 2 years and was finally arrested in 1984 when police found her unloading 740 pounds of dynamite from her car in New Jersey. During her arrest, she said her only regret was not shooting the police, and she called on supporters to continue her war on the United States. And now this woman, who was literally convicted of domestic terrorism, is running an organization that pumps tons of money and resources into Black Lives Matter. That kind of radical communist ideology has spread to the group's current organizers, who have even admitted to being trained Marxists.
Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
The co-founders of Black Lives Matter, Patrisse Cullors, was even mentored by Eric Mann, who was a convicted member of the terrorist organization Weather Underground. Back in 2015, even the Democratic Party itself wanted nothing to do with Black Lives Matter, and a secret memo warned Democrats not to embrace BLM because it was a radical movement. Digging deeper, it's clear groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter are extremely well funded from organizations all over America, including the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, a Marxist group that aims to overthrow capitalism. That group has numerous fronts, nearly all of which donate heavily to Black Lives Matter, including many popular brands and companies you might have heard of, such as Ben & Jerry's, the Ford Foundation of the Ford Motor Company, the Rockefeller Foundation, and, of course, George Soros's Open Society Institute. Leaked documents from 2015 also show Soros's institute claiming the violence in Baltimore over the death of Freddie Gray was a unique opportunity to help activists in the city. And that included a $650,000 donation in support for the groups involved with Black Lives Matter. These are just a tiny handful of the astonishing number of companies, trusts, foundations, and organizations that all finance groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter. It's confusing, and it's designed to be confusing, so that all these little groups can help mask the true sinister objective of their organizers.
If this country doesn't give us what we want, then we will burn down this system and replace it. All right.
If groups like Black Lives Matter and Antifa have actual convicted terrorists managing them and they promote terrorist activities and terrorist ideologies, then it's clear companies and organizations supporting them are literally funding domestic terrorism. The only way to stop these militant activists is for the government to get involved. BLM and Antifa are violating our civil rights, and our lawmakers have to put a stop to it. And unless more people, citizens and politicians, are willing to stand up to their violent radicalism, it seems likely these Marxist militants will succeed in changing America forever.